Hi, how are you? And welcome back. It's time to have a look at the astrology and think about the astrology in terms of our businesses or our workplaces. And what we've got happening is we've got Mars and Mercury on the move. They're going to be entering into Scorpio, which is going to be interesting because that's all about introspection and going deep and really wanting to have solid connections and understanding what our connection is. And this instance is going to be understanding what our connection is to the work that we're doing, the workplace, and our colleagues. And then we're going to have the Sun entering Sagittarius, which is actually going to be really good. And it's a great move for business because Sagittarius is all about the bigger picture and dreaming big and just understanding how everything sits into the landscape that we want to influence and how we want to be seen in terms of influencing the world around us. So I think that's going to be most interesting. So we've just gone and finished with a period where everyone's been a little bit, what would you say, definitely working through their own stuff. And that's been a result of people being tired, a little bit flat, maybe not as communicative as they would like to be. I have dyslexia and a small speech impediment, so sometimes I trip over my words. So that's also what we've been experiencing, and things have been a little bit disjointed, and people have been a little bit more caustic than usual in terms of their expressions and their discussions and what they've had to say. So we've gone through this time where really it hasn't been, for a lot of us, the easiest time to get our work done, to get things pushed through. And I put up some images before for the last videos about swimming through cement and doing this through asphalt, sometimes even treading water and going against the tide. And for a lot of us, that's what it's been feeling like. Business has not been in a state of boom. We have been releasing and coming up with new products and new ideas and wanting them to get off the ground, but what we've been experiencing is a lack of traction. We actually haven't managed to get this, get the products and services we want launched in the way we wanted them launched. And what's happened is when we've been looking at why hasn't this worked for us, we've actually gone into looking at ourselves and doing an evaluation of the work that we've done. And while this has been quite necessary in terms of understanding our personal integrity and our ethics, and did this work in terms of what I believe in, and does it have a solid platform from which I can then launch it into the world? Because if you don't have the belief system in terms of what you're doing, and if you don't, and regardless of how ethical that belief system is, because remember, ethics is actually a very subjective term. It's not a clear term. Everyone has a different set of ethics. So what we have to do when we choose our business partners or choose our partners to live with or choose a place where we work, we have to really make sure that the ethics within the place, not just what they say the ethics are, but how the ethics are enacted in terms of behavior, sits well with us and in terms of product and service. So what we're looking at is going in, and that was important because we needed to be really clear about that, because we are entering a new, longer stage where we're going to be changing the way that we interact with the world around us. And now we've spent all this time having a think about who we are and what we value and how we want that to be represented in the external world. And now what we're doing is it's time to actually start enacting that and dreaming about that and thinking about that. And this is what Sagittarius is really all about. It's quite expansive. It's quite optimistic, and it's definitely not about self. It's about my relationship to the rest of the world. So you start thinking about the market, you start thinking about customers, you start thinking about partners, and then you start thinking about influencing them. And what starts to happen then is you start to be able to perceive how your product or services or your behavior or what you're trying to get off the ground is being viewed by people outside of your inner circle, because it's no longer just about your inner circle. You're going now beyond your tribe and the people that you trust intimately, and you need to get that feedback from the bigger perspective of people outside of you. Now, this is always difficult to do because it's much easier to go to your tribe or people you trust or people you know who think the same way that you do and have that discussion. In Sagittarius, it's about having the courage to go beyond that and to start talking to people who maybe are not for what you're presenting and get an honest opinion from them about what you need to do or what is holding back your dream, your idea, or your focus, or how you want to develop or how you can develop it further. So what is stopping you? And the way to do that is not to talk to same-minded people, but to talk to people who you trust the knowledge and opinion of, and that they will give you their honest opinion, and hopefully that honest opinion will be different to yours, so that you grow and learn and begin to understand, and then you can expand. And that's the really nice thing about it, and that's what's going to be happening, and I think it's a great opportunity. So Scorpio is really about the opportunity for growth. Now, we've got Mars and we've got, Sagittarius is about the opportunity for growth. I said Scorpio because I was thinking about Mars and Mercury going into Scorpio. But Sagittarius is all about growth, it's all about dreaming, it's all about going big. The only thing that I would be careful with you about is that it can be a little bit too big. We can be a little bit too optimistic, and our expectations can be too high. So we've got to temper our dreaming and our optimism with just a little dose of reality. And how you do that is you don't temper your dreams. What you do is you tamper with the mechanics. So you dream big, but you have to have a really good eye on the mechanics and the strategy and the planning and the reality. And that's why it's nice to talk to someone who you trust and believe in their honesty. Not trust and believe that they will support you. That's not what you're after. Their support you want to give you is their honesty and their assessment about what you're planning and thinking of doing. That's what you want. You want someone with a little bit of an opposing view to throw up some challenges so you can get a lot more depth. Now, Mars and Mercury going into Scorpio is going to drive you to do this because they're all about going deep. They're all about really understanding and getting to the core of something. So what you're going to find is that you're going to have this if you're too laissez-faire about everything and you're not really getting into a need and desire to understand what is beneath, you're going to feel really uncomfortable about what you're presenting, because the drive is to get down, get dirty, and really understand all those aspects that sit in Mercury, which is the underbelly, if you like, of why people might not be connecting with your product, your service, or your idea, or even you, and how you need to then go about doing some changes to that. And that's what this season is going to be throwing up for us. And I really am enjoying it. Not so much because I'm enjoying things are still a little bit stagnant, a little bit slow, particularly in the industry I'm currently in, because I'm in the tourism industry and it's currently in recession. Internal country tourism is not in recession, it's in boom, but international tourism is in recession. So what that is forcing me to do, and this is the messages also I'm getting back from customers, is to go in and re-look at some of the things that I'm doing and face some hard realities, because I think what I've done is crystal clear, but the messages coming back to me are not. So I'm going to have to put on another perspective, another hat, and definitely look at the work I'm doing, or how I'm communicating the work I'm doing, from a different perspective, because it's quite clear that while I'm clear in my head about what I'm doing and in my heart, perhaps I haven't been able to pinpoint and define exactly how that should be communicated. And remember, Mercury is all about communication. So we've got Mars and Mercury really driving us to get very intimate and understand the hidden elements of what we're trying to achieve and why that may not be working. And in particular, that's about stuff that is holding us back, and it's obviously got to do with both communication and motivation and people's buy-in. So we're being really driven to begin to understand that. And Scorpio is asking us, and it's great timing, to look out. I'm sorry, Sagittarius is asking us to look out at the bigger picture. So we've got Mars and Mercury and Scorpio asking us to do a deep dive in terms of our own business, our own thinking, our own business models, perhaps our business proposals that we've got at our websites, our social media networks. Have a really good look and have an understanding of that and see what's driving that. So is what's driving that our image of us, or is what's driving us what we believe our customers and what we understand our customers want from us? Because we really need to get that right. It needs to have elements of us, but it also really needs to have elements firmly in the customer's needs and buying decisions. Otherwise we are offbeat and we're just not in the running, because we're missing that very important connection to the customer's buying decisions. And what's going to allow us in Sagittarius is to go out and get that perspective. So it allows us to do, in time for Christmas perhaps, and the high retail season, it allows us to get everything quite clearly set up and focused for us to go forward. And I think that's a really nice thing to do. So take the time out, have some conversations, test your theories from other perspectives, and really work at getting an understanding. And that's where we're at. Okay, so that's the business perspective of the astrology for the 19th, 20th and 22nd. All right, talk soon.